Aren't you glad that God is the God of before and after? Aren't you glad that he is the God of but God moments? I was going this direction, but God. I had something going on in my mind, but God. I thought God didn't have any time for me, but God. In fact, I'm gonna get y'all to help me preach today. And when I get you to help me preach later, you're gonna have to say, but God. So I want you to practice right now. Just say, but God. But God. Before and after. Y'all didn't have to say that, but that was good. You got extra credit for that. You know the before. Every single one of us walked in here with a before. You may have showed your before even this week. You know what I'm saying? You may have showed your before on the way to church because you were running late and you wanted to get a good seat. You may have showed you before, but you got a before, but what God is about to give you is an after. Turn to your neighbor and tell him, you got an after. You got an after. Turn to your husband and tell him, you showed your before this morning. Hey, I want you to help me one more time. Say, I am ready for the rest of my story. Give high fives, about 5 of them, and have a seat. I'm ready for the rest of my story. And he is the God who is writing the next chapter of our story. The next chapter of our story. He's writing the chapter of your story that you never saw coming. Did you ever see it coming? You didn't see it coming, what God was going to do for you. And speaking of things you never saw coming, let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone just ruin a movie for you? You hadn't seen it yet, and they decide to tell you the whole plot in one sentence. Or maybe you're reading a book. Somebody walks in, they see you're reading the book, and they're like, hey, isn't that such a good book? The way that, boom, boom, boom. And they tell you the whole ending of the book. And you're like, no, don't do that. I hadn't read the book yet. No spoiler alerts, no warnings, no anything. They just ruin it for you. Now listen, I had someone a couple years ago, I think it was 2019, I was preaching and I was telling a joke and I referenced that movie where the kid goes, I see dead people. You know what I'm talking about? And I told the joke in such a way that it kind of ruined the movie. It let him know that he actually does see dead people because the guy was dead and all that kind of stuff. And this guy came out to the foyer and he was like, hey, I gotta tell you, you just ruined that movie for me. I hadn't watched that yet. This was in 2019. I was like, bro, you had 20 years to watch that movie. In fact, this is the kid of that movie. This is him now. That's how long it's been. That dude's got more chest hairs than a 13-year-old Italian kid. I mean, he's grown up. And so, no spoiler alerts today. Though, because the Easter story is one of those stories that we know, right? I mean, the stone was rolled away. Jesus comes out of the tomb. In fact, let's say it with 2 billion people across the world today. Say, he is risen. He is risen indeed. Yeah. And because we know the Easter story, every Easter, we instinctively place ourselves into somewhere in the story, like, right? Maybe we're like Mary. Mary runs to the tomb. She's distraught. She's emotional. She finds herself there. She's going to take care of Jesus' body, but the tomb is empty. And we're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm emotional. Maybe that's where you find yourself on Easter. Or maybe you're like Peter. You're broken, but you know you're forgiven. When he realizes that he had denied Jesus, and maybe you walked in here broken. And maybe you don't know what to do with your life right now. And you don't know what to do with your before. And you don't know what your after is going to be. Or maybe you're like the disciples. We look at the story and we go, man, they're confused. What is happening on Easter weekend? What's happening in my life? You might be confused about what God is doing in your life. And I've preached all of these. And they are where we can find ourselves in the story. In fact, sometimes we even find ourselves in the story, the resurrected version of our own selves. Victorious, strong, because the same power that raised Jesus from the dead is a power that works in us. And so death and grave are defeated, right? And we see that in ourselves. But as I was reading the story fresh this year, I thought, as I pastor people and I look, if we're honest, most of us are really like this obscure character in the Bible, in the Easter story. We're like that Roman soldier. Now, that's not the character we want to be. That's not the character back in Freedom Kids. They're not going to be coloring a Roman soldier today and going, here's the hero of the story. He's not the hero of the story. When we were doing the Easter plays in church, you never were like, oh, I hope I get to wear that skirt and be a Roman soldier. Had that faux hawk helmet. That's not what I want to do, right? But he might be an honest reflection of the average person sitting in a church on Easter Sunday. Because that first Easter wasn't a worship service. That it wasn't a sunrise celebration yet. It follows a brutal execution. Matthew 27 tells us that the governor's soldiers took Jesus back to their headquarters and they stripped him and they put a scarlet robe on him and they twisted these thorns and they made a crown and they crushed it into his head and they placed a reed in his hand and they knelt before him in mockery saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." They spit on him. They struck him in the head. They humiliated him. And then those same Roman soldiers would lead him away to a cross. And they would nail his hands and his feet to the cross. And they would bring the cross up. And in Matthew, it actually tells us that those Roman soldiers, they said they were at the grave. The Roman officer and the other soldiers were at the crucifixion. They were there. And this Roman soldier, this man is overseeing it. He's not a random passerby. He's not just a curious onlooker. He's responsible. He oversees making sure the nails are there. He oversees lifting up the cross. He oversees the details. And then it says in Matthew 27:35, after they nailed him to the cross, the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. And then they sat around and kept guard as he hung there on the cross. They sat around while a man suffocated. They rolled dice, playing games while he died. That's not anger. They're not doing that out of outrage. There's no emotional chaos here. This is just routine. This is just his job. This is just what he does every day. This is life. And this is what happens when death becomes ordinary. And Mark says that he was the soldier who stood facing him. So he's watching the cross. Luke says he was overseeing the execution. And he stands at the foot of the cross, close enough to see everything, close enough to hear every word. He's hearing it, he's seeing it. But at this point, it's just another execution. It's just another part of life. And then something changes in the sky. And from noon until 3 p.m, darkness covers the land. Not metaphorical darkness, like real darkness comes. The earth begins to shake. The ground begins to tremble. Creation begins to react. And so this man is standing there, the professional. He's got a hardened heart. He's just watching this. He's just standing there. He's still watching. He's still close to the cross. He's still in the darkness. Because this wasn't his first crucifixion. This wasn't his first Friday. This wasn't his first man that he had seen die on a cross. He's not emotionally attached. He's not even spiritually curious. He's not searching for God. He's just doing his job. He's desensitized. He's hardened. And before we judge him, we should probably look for ourselves and recognize ourselves in him. Because most people aren't angry at Jesus. They're just busy. Most of you who are not connected to God right now, you're just busy. You're just being responsible. You're just building your careers. You're just raising kids. You're just paying bills, playing ball, trying to survive. Most people are not hostile towards God. They're just preoccupied, close to him, but unmoved by him. See, you can stand at the foot of the cross and still miss who's on it. And for some of you, you walked into an Easter experience and you're close enough right now. You've seen people worshiping. You're close enough right now. You've heard the lyrics of these songs and you're like, what is this about? You're hearing the story of Easter. You see people and you're watching what's going on. And for some of you, you're joining us right now in our overflow. Hi to everybody in the overflow. By the way, say hey to everybody in overflow. Don't say I got a seat and you didn't. Don't say that. Just say hi to them. But you're in here and you're experiencing something. And you're saying, I'm close enough to the cross. But maybe you don't see who's on it. This man was there, right there at the cross. And he heard him say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. In Luke chapter 23. And you know, when Jesus prayed that prayer, he was praying it for that centurion, but he wasn't just praying it for the centurion, he was praying it for you as well. Father, forgive Sean. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Father, forgive him. The guy who hasn't shown up in church in a long time, but somebody convinced him to come. He was asking for your forgiveness as well, and he heard that. He's at the cross, no revenge, not threats, forgiveness. And he watches Jesus as he says this curious thing to his father. He says, Father, I entrust my spirit into your hands. And so all this is going on. Darkness has fallen. Creation is reacting while humanity mocks. He feels the earth shaking below him. He starts to believe this is not normal, just like you. You're watching something. You felt some love that you haven't felt in a long time. You felt this presence of God that you haven't felt in a long time. And you're like, this isn't normal. This isn't routine. This is just not another day. And he's like, this is not just another execution. And Matthew continues telling us the Roman officer and the other soldiers at the crucifixion were terrified by the earthquake and all that had happened. And they said, this man truly was the Son of God. He'd been saying he was the Son of God. And they didn't say, oh, he's innocent. He shouldn't be on this cross. He didn't deserve this. They weren't talking like that. They were talking at another level. This man truly was the Son of God. That is not safe language for a Roman soldier. But can I tell you what else? It's not safe language for somebody who walked in here thinking they were just attending an Easter experience. It's not safe language for someone who just planned on just going on with their life after today. Just planned on saying, all right, I'll check in every now and then with God, make sure everything's okay, but I don't feel connected to him. It's not small talk. This is confession that this man is doing. This is his but God moment. This is your turn. Everybody shout, but God. See, he would say, I was indifferent, but God. My heart was hardened, but God. I was just doing my job, but God. I didn't think things could change, but God. These are two words that change everything. They change our lives. I was dead in my sin, but God. I was separated, but God. I was without hope, but God. The before and the after. The centurion didn't wake up that morning looking for a savior, but God revealed one. He didn't plan to believe, but God opened his eyes. Easter is not about human effort. It's not about your seeking or your searching. It's about the fact that God has been on the search for you. He's been looking for you. It's about a divine interruption in our normal lives that are just going on. Just like this soldier, your life has just been going on. But the resurrection is God stepping into our I was and rewriting it. And some of you aren't here today You're not rejecting Jesus. You're just watching him from a distance. Every now and then he catches your eye. God winks at you every now and then. You go, oh yeah, God. Every now and then you do something and you got to pray. God, would you please work this out of my life? And you glimpse the cross. But to you, it's just another day, an ordinary day, just life, just things going on. Maybe you haven't even been curious. You've just been near. But here's the thing about what's happening to you today. Just like that centurion, when you get close enough to the cross and the resurrection doesn't allow neutrality to last. You no longer can say you haven't encountered God. You've encountered him today. You can no longer say that I was just close enough. That man, that Roman soldier was close to God. But proximity didn't change him. Revelation did. He began to see clearly. And some of you your eyes have been open. You saw in the stories that were told, you're like, hey, I had that life. I was like that. I was angry all the time. I was distant from God. I didn't think I needed God. And what Jesus does is he turns spectators into believers. See, you don't have to start Easter as a disciple. Many of you walked in here not knowing God. I know that on Easter, we're gonna have a lot of people going, I'm gonna try this again. Somebody invited me, and you walked in here not being a disciple. You would say, I'm probably far from God. Here's the truth. You don't have to walk in here being a disciple, but you don't have to walk out still being a centurion, because you get to look at the cross, and everybody can say, I have an I was moment. Oh man, I was ashamed. I was addicted. I was proud. All of those stories are all across this place. I was indifferent. I was broken. Man, somebody's here because you're broken. You walked into this place, nobody invited you, you found it on your own. And you walked in because you're broken and you feel like you can't be fixed. And can I tell you that's your I was? I was broken. Here's my question for you. Will you have a but God moment today? See, on Friday, the centurion saw the lordship of Jesus. He was like, something's different. He saw how he died. He saw how he forgave. He saw how he surrendered. He saw something no other execution had ever shown him. Friday. Everybody say Friday. But then on Sunday, everybody shout Sunday. Fast, say, but Sunday. But Sunday is where he's proved that he's wrong. Because he goes, truly this man, he's the Son of God. But he walked from there and he still went and sealed the tomb. He walked from there and he still went and guarded the tomb. He walked from there and he was still close enough, but yet had not encountered him yet. And then on Matthew, it tells us in Matthew 28, 1-6, early on Sunday morning, as the new day was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went out to visit the tomb. Suddenly there was a great earthquake again, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled aside the stone, and sat on it. That is a tough move. That is a boss move. Like roll the stone away, you don't just stand by. Roll the stone away, just don't walk away from it. Sit on it. And he's just waiting for people to show up. And his face shone like lightning. And his clothing was white as snow. The guards, say the guards. Remember the guards? They shook with fear at what they saw, and they fell into a dead faint. The guards, those same guards that thought there might be something to this guy on Friday, are now confronted with this empty grave on Sunday. And then the angel spoke to the women. Don't be afraid, he said. I know you are looking for Jesus who is crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead, just as he said would happen. Come on, he isn't here. He's risen from the dead. He wasn't there, but he is here right now. and he is alive. And they said, come on, we'll show you where his body is. See, they had wrapped him in linen. They had placed him in a borrowed tomb. They had rolled a stone in front of that. They had sealed that stone, and those same guards were guarding it. And those same guards, those hardened heart Roman soldiers who were there at the cross just doing life, just like some of y'all, just doing life, just showing up on another Easter Sunday. But now the tomb is empty. And they have to go back and explain that to somebody. They got to go back and tell somebody what happened. Look, it says, as the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and told the chief priests what had happened. I love that Easter has a what had happened story. See, what had happened was we were there, and then this angel came down. He was sitting like this. Was it like that? Yeah, he was sitting like this, just like this. And they're having to tell this story. Can you imagine these guards? Jesus is out of the grave now. He's walking around. He walks around town after this for a while, by the way. And they're in town. And I guarantee you those guards are walking through town. You know what those guards were saying? I see dead people, right? For 3 days, even though they had had that moment at the cross, you know that it still looked like to them that God wasn't real. Oh, we thought that was something going on. It must have just been an earthquake. Must have just got dark for some reason. They thought after he had been in the tomb for a while, it looked finished. It looked final. Oh, it was just another execution. You might even be tempted, and I think the enemy of your soul would want you to be tempted right now to hear this. This is just another Easter. You won't come back next week. This is just another Easter. You're not going to take God seriously. This is just another Easter. You're not going to be like JJ a year from now still walking with God. Just another execution. Somebody say, but God. Somebody say it louder, but God. The stone was rolled away, not so that Jesus could get out. He could have gotten out without the stone being rolled away. He walked through walls later. But the stone was rolled away so that the world could see in it that it was empty. That death didn't win. That Rome didn't win. That sin didn't win. The cross wasn't a tragedy. It was a transaction. It was God paying for my sin and your sin. The resurrection is the receipt. Say, Jesus has got receipts. He came with receipts. The centurion saw his lordship at the cross, but now because of this empty tomb, he could experience his salvation. And that's the gospel. Jesus just didn't die to impress you. He didn't die to just inspire you. He died in your place and he rose from the dead so that you could rise as well. In fact, look at Romans 10:9. It says this, if you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's it. Confess his lordship, believe in his resurrection, receive his salvation. See, here's the deal. If the resurrection is real, and it is, and these Roman soldiers saw it, they were another witness to what had happened. They had no dog in this fight, but they had to go back and tell somebody about it. Say, tell them about it. They had to. They had to go back and do it because something happened. And if the resurrection is real, and it is, everything you're facing is going to be all right. Everything you're facing. If the resurrection is real, all that stuff you've done is forgiven, so it's going to be all right. And here's what I'll ask you. Are you ready to move from watching, being close enough to the cross to kind of see what's going on, from watching to believing, from standing near to surrendering? From I was to but God. And if you are, I want to invite you to pray a prayer. That's the gospel. We cry out help. We cry out help to God. The gospel is that Jesus saves us. And I'm going to pray a prayer right now. We're going to pray all across this auditorium in overflow. I want you praying it as well. We're going to all pray it together. But some of you are going to pray this for the very first time. Let's pray this out loud. Say, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, that he died on a cross and he rose from the grave to forgive me of my sins. So I give you my sins and I give you my shame. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I give you my shame. I give you my sin. That's what you did just now. In fact, I'm going to count to 3. And I want you to raise your hand, joining the 12 other people at our 8 o'clock experience. And I want you to join them knowing that Jesus has done something in your life. So if you prayed that prayer for the very first time on the count of 3, raise your hand high up in the air and keep it up in the air for me. 1, 2, 3, raise your hand up in the air. Our team is looking for you. We want to celebrate you. Come on. We want to celebrate you just like the angels are celebrating in heaven. We want to celebrate your next steps. In fact, if you join the 12 others, would you do me a favor? Would you take that card and the card they gave you, would you take that over to the I Raise My Hand booths that are as you're exiting, because we want to help you take your next step as you're leaving today. Just go there. Or you can go to our help desk and tell them, hey, I raised my hand today. They can help you there. If you don't find either one of those because of traffic or whatever, just look for somebody that looks like they know what they're doing and say, hey, I raise my hand. What do I do? And they will show you what to do, because we want to help you take your next step. And we want you to come back next week too. Starting a new series we're going to tell you about in a little bit. It's going to be amazing. So you got to come back. All right, but how about everybody else? How about everybody else? Because I had an I was moment. Jesus saved me, but every now and then my I was sneaks back up into my life. Does yours ever do that? Every now and then my I was moment says, but that but God moment wasn't true. And I show my but God moment and my doubt. Every now and then I need to remember. Say remember. I just need to remember why I was. Not so that I'll feel guilt. So that I will feel so much joy. Where were you when Jesus found you? Where were you when Jesus changed your life? Where were you when you could say, I was, but God changed my life? I want to take you there. And here's what I want you to do. If you allow Jesus to save you today, you prayed that prayer for the very first time, everybody's got a card right now. Would you take that card, just wave it in the air like you do care? You got it? You got that and a pen in your seat? It says, I was, now I am. And for those of you who allow Jesus to save you today for the first time, you would write, I was dead, but now I am alive. Come on, praise Jesus for that. Those who were dead, but now are alive. But on here you can write, I was, maybe like me, you would say, I was fatherless for a while, but now I am adopted. And maybe for some of you would say, I was anxious, but God willing, now I am free. I was a doubter, you might would write, but now I am one who sees. Where were you in your I was moment when God came in with a but God? Because that's what we want to respond with today. So I want you to take those cards. You can take them home with you. If that's what you need, is like, hey, I want to take this home to remember my I was moment. Or maybe you want to take them to the cross, pin them to the cross and say, hey, I remember what God did to me and did for me and I'm leaving it there. Maybe you want to go and take communion, remembering the sacrifice that he paid and for you on his body and his blood and is broken and spilled for us. That's what communion reminds us of. And maybe our prayer team's going to come down. They're going to be up front and our prayer team's going to be here because they want to pray with you. And maybe you just need to bring your I was moment to the prayer, to the altar, to the prayer team and say, hey, you know what? This thing still haunts me. This thing won't let me go. I keep thinking of myself as an addict. Can I tell you something? Someone here, you refer to yourself as an addict. You are an addict no more. Jesus has given you freedom. You're not an addict. Don't let your worst time define your best life. And so you're going to come and you're going to receive prayer. I think there are people here who need to receive prayer. We're going to celebrate together that God has a but God moment. I want you to stand to your feet. We're going to celebrate. Say, I was, but God. Say, I was, but God. Say it one more time. I was, but God. Let's celebrate together what Jesus has done in our lives. I was, but God.